turning now to the emails themselves, which we've been teasing here for a little while. Let's actually get into some of them. Crystal and Emily went into the 3 big ones that happened yesterday, which you'll recall, but it's actually worth knowing the House Oversight Committee ended up releasing some 22,000 new pages. Now, I want to say at the top, part of the difficulty for people like us is that they have put them out as individual images, not as searchable PDFs. So we have to individually go through all 22,000 files. I mean, it would take weeks, if not months, to actually go and read. I've done my best, and we have collated a lot of stuff here that various researchers and all of them have flagged. But we want to give you a fulsome taste here of some of the Trump stuff that remains in the emails. Let's put the first one up here on the screen. This is B2, actually, guys. Let's just jump ahead to there. Jeffrey Epstein, this was a June of 2019 email where Epstein says specifically, quote, recall Prince Andrew's accuser came out of Mar-a-Lago. So this is Virginia Giuffre. And this is in a text chain that was with Steve Bannon. So this is from June of 2019, and saying, quote, can't believe nobody is making you the connective tissue. And he says specifically, Prince Andrew and Trump today, too funny. So presumably there was some meeting.
There was a meeting between Prince
two.
Andrew and Trump that day.
Right, so that's what Epstein and Bannon are like joking about. I mean, this is only months before he's dead in federal prison and indicted. Just flagging that one. Let's go to the next one. This is nuts. Okay, so this was a email chain with Landon Thomas Jr., who is a New York Times reporter who worked there for years, who it turns out had this deep and long relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And he's sending him some stuff specifically about the Trump campaign, kind of asking him for some questions here about previous BuzzFeed news articles about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And what he says is, my 20-year-old girlfriend in '93, comma, that after 2 years I gave to Donald. So what that shows is, you'll recall, Michael Wolff and others had talked specifically about this girlfriend that they appear to have shared or whatever, who was 20 years old in the year 1993. There were several jokes about that and being depreciated in the birthday book, which you will also recall, just again, to show some of the relationship. Let's go to the next one. This one is in emails with Michael Wolff, the quote-unquote journalist. Yeah, I mean, the emails from Wolff here are like a secondary conversation about how disgusting that is. But anyway, he says, well, I guess if there's anybody who can wave this away, it's Donald. Let me know if there's anything I can do. This is from Michael Wolff.
This was
about the lawsuit.
This is in relationship to the lawsuit from an accuser, I believe, named Katie Johnson, who alleged that both Trump and Epstein had raped her when she was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, that's right. So this was in a lawsuit.
So he's talking about, well, if anyone could wave this lawsuit away, it's Donald. Right. I guess he was right.
Okay.
Broke time anyway.
Next time, let's put this up here on the screen. This is for Epstein on Donald Trump, quote, he feels alone and is nuts. I told everyone from day one, evil beyond belief, mad. So it sounds like he had TDS. Most thought I was speaking metaphorically. It's obvious he could crack. Stormy Daniels, ? Lies after lies.
Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein is lecturing you on morality, like what you have gone seriously wrong somewhere in your life.
Next one. This is from 2015. Again, Landon Thomas Jr.
Who I think was fired because of his relationship with Epstein.
Right. And so he emails him about the infamous quote, I've known Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years. And Epstein replies, read the UZFeed.
Must be BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed. Ari, airplane logs, Hawaiian contest. Have them ask my houseman about Donald, presumably almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool. He was so focused, it walked straight into the door.
Pause on that one for a second, because he's talking about, so they're talking about Trump. Landon Thomas Jr. says, now everyone coming to me thinking I have juicy info on you and Trump because of this. The story will never die. And then Epstein replies, read the BuzzFeed, read my airplane logs, and Hawaiian tropic contest, so some sort of a beauty contest. And then have them ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through and leave as young girls, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, he's gesturing towards like some of the dirt that he would have
that was in a
Trump.
Exchange about that. Okay, so that's what, let's go to the next one. This was about Ghislaine and more, or sorry, this one was a very weird email from a victim where they say, "I'm at the door. I will wait for my time. I don't want to come early to find Trump in your house." Laughing emoji, laughing emoji. This is from 2017 in December. There is no evidence because Trump was president at this time about a visit. I mean, you know, you can't really go anywhere without the White House press corps, but I guess they were still joking about it or alluding to something while at this time period with one of the victims. Again, it's I see these being passed around, but I'm telling you, I mean, I was covering the White House at this time. It's literally impossible. Like, you can't go anywhere without the White House press corps that was tagging along. So I don't think it's likely at all. I mean, he was definitely at Mar-a-Lago a ton, but Jeffrey Epstein, if he had been at Mar-a-Lago at that time, that actually would have been a story. It was under Secret Service control. I mean, theoretically, I guess, possible, but very unlikely. This just seems to me, there's a lot of winking, nodding, joking, and Epstein, in the emails to me, he loves how important he is of his relationship with everybody else, and he's constantly alluding to the dirt that he has on everybody around him, including Trump. Trump was one of the figures that he constantly alludes to in the emails.
And this is confirmation of, you know, one of the things that has been posited about Jeffrey Epstein is basically like he was using blackmail to make money, ingratiate himself with the rich and powerful, keep himself out of trouble. And you can see him using those tactics in this email, saying basically, I've got, you know, I could take down this person. I've got information on that person. And then you also see him having these high-level meetings with, you know, heads of state and leaders from countries around the world. So you really get, you know, Trump included in this, but even separate and apart from Trump, you do see how he really operates and the way that he presents himself in these emails. You know, back to the question about his connectivity with Trump. What's the year that Trump claims he cut off all contact with Epstein? It was like 2004 or something like that. Early 2000s is when they supposedly, I think they did actually have some kind of falling out over like this mansion that they both wanted or some sort of real
Well, it was that and
whatever.
also Virginia Giuffre being stolen
from
the
Mar-a-Lago.
spot.
Yeah.
Don't believe me. Trump said that.
Trump
okay?
said it, and Epstein, you know, it's like,
no, he literally
confirms
said
it in these emails effectively.
Yeah.
In any case, but you have some indications in these emails, this one being one of them, but others as well, that Epstein still, if wasn't in direct contact with Trump, he was certainly in contact with Steve Bannon, who was, you know, obviously Trump world insider. A lot of questions for Bannon. We knew that Bannon had all of these hours of Epstein footage that has never been released. And then you see him regularly texting back and forth with Epstein. Again, this is, you know, this is a longtime Trump world insider that is clearly continuing to communicate with Jeffrey Epstein right up until he is dead. So, you know, that exchange with regard to Prince Andrew, that is, I think, like a month before he ends up dead in a prison cell.
Yeah.
So all the way up to the end, he was certainly connected directly to Trump world. There's another email where someone is asking him to pass some sort of a video along to Donald Trump, suggesting that they at least thought that he still had that kind of access. So I think that's a really important piece of this too, as we, you know, put these pieces together. And, you know, you may ask, like, what's going on with the Steve Bannon thing? I mean, I think the most logical conclusion is that he wanted to keep Epstein close because reportedly he had said that he knew that Epstein was the one guy who could take Trump down and that he was worried about going back to 2016. So I think the probably logical conclusion is that he wanted to keep this guy close and keep tabs on him to make sure that nothing that was going to be damaging to Trump was going to be coming out.
Let's get to B8. This might be the craziest one. Let's put it up here on the screen, okay? Trump said he asked me to resign, never remember, ever. Of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. That was one of those that was released.
Of course he knew about the girls.
Yeah, of course he knew about the girls.
And that seems to confirm the Virginia Giuffre at Mar-a-Lago. Like that dovetails with that story about Virginia Giuffre being quote-unquote
To be fair,
from
I will
Mar-a-Lago.
say what the MAGA people are all showing is what Virginia Giuffre did testify under oath that she never saw Trump do anything wrong, which I don't think is all that exculpatory, I get. Because for Trump per se, because that's not really the alleged accusation. The accusation here was about knowing about this and some of the relationship that preceded. But did want to throw
But read this part from Michael Wolff too, though, because so the first part of the exchange is this is when I believe they're talking about this potential CNN debate. Oh no, this is later. This is 20.
Yeah,
it's 2015.
This is 2015.
Okay, so 2015. they're talking about this potential CNN debate exchange and brainstorming how they would want Trump to respond, which again indicates that there's some way to get this information to him and to press him to respond one way or another. And Michael Wolff says, I think you should let him hang himself, interesting choice of words, if he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey's a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. So here you have Michael Wolff saying we should hope that Trump lies, because then you have leverage over him. You have valuable PR and political currency. And if he wins, you could save him generating a debt. So again, strategizing about how basically to wield this information against Trump and have power over him. And so that email was in 2015. And then the one above it is from a separate exchange about, of course Trump knew about the girls. He asked Elaine to stop.
Yeah.
So extremely revealing there in terms of how they were talking internally and how Epstein operates.
Let's go to the next one, shall we? This was another pretty extraordinary one. This is a joke where he talks about, well, it may not be a joke. He's saying, quote, Hillary doing naughties with Vince. So this is about Vince Foster. This is some 1990s stuff if you've never gone down the road of the Vince Foster suicide. But he is alluding there.
The Clinton body count.
Well, I mean, go and read it for yourself. It is objectively a crazy death. There's no getting around that. Let's get to B11, shall we? This was from Jeffrey Epstein to Peter Thiel. Quote, subject, that was fun. See you in 3 weeks. Just put a pin in that. I will return because it actually just tells you about how crazy his inner circle was. Go to B12, shall we? This was another one. Quote, would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen? This was from December of 2015. Let's go ahead and skip to B14 just because I want to show everybody how deep he was still in D.C. This is an October 2017 email from Larry Summers, who, remember, is like former president of Harvard, World Bank, Treasury Secretary under Clinton, like as respected as it gets in liberal establishment circles.
Still is
and
somehow.
Epstein says, when we meet, I will endeavor to mesmerize you with stories of DC. So wild, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Interesting. B15, please. These were all some of the ones that I was noting that I dug out. So here is Epstein keeping tabs on Alex Acosta before Alex Acosta's hearing. He says who will represent Acosta at hearing, and his lawyer, Roy Black, who, by the way, helped Epstein with the sweetheart deal with Acosta, says he will be by himself, perhaps a Trump aide, to assist and to accompany him. The reason why that's noteworthy to me is, number one, he's keeping tabs on Acosta at the hearing. Number two, the alleged he belonged to intelligence quote about Acosta happened while he was being vetted, allegedly, according to whoever leaked that story. The he belonged to intelligence quote happened while he was being vetted for his potential confirmation hearing in the belief that he may have been asked about it at some point during that confirmation. So that's why it was important to me that he is keeping tabs on Epstein. B16, please. This is the perfect one for me. Because this just shows you, like, yeah, look, obviously Trump is a headline because he's a president, but this is how deep this stuff all goes. So this is just 2014, September 2014, during the UNGA, when, the global elite is all in New York City. These were all of his meetings that he lists out, and please keep this on screen so I can read from them. Peter Thiel, Larry Summers, Bill Burns, CIA director, Gordon Brown, the Prime Minister of Britain, Jagland, who was a Nobel Committee person from Norway, the Mongolian president, the UAE leader, Qatari leaders, Leon Black, that Apollo hedge fund guy who, they had a long relationship with. That correspondence that he has back and forth is with Obama's recently departed White House counsel. And he's listing like the Clinton people, the Security Council. He talks about the climate summit that's happening there for the Clinton Global Initiative. Woody Allen, right? Fair weather friends, I guess, there between the two. But my point is just like, you can see how deeply interconnected that he was into this global elite. Like, it's not just Trump, it's like everybody, Indian energy ministers. And just to flag here, the Mongolian president part is, remember, one of the first stories that Ryan reported is that Epstein helped broker an Israeli security agreement between Israel and Mongolia. So here you have him meeting with this head of state around the same time that he's working on behalf of Israel to broker this security. So this just is confirmation of the drop site story, number one. But number two, look at the level of access that this guy just had. I mean, it's just so crazy, from prime ministers, CIA directors, billionaires, Nobel Committee, sultans of Dubai, people at Harvard, Woody Allen. I mean, it's everywhere. It's entertainment, it's the presidency, it's finance, it's like at the highest levels of government, including, many of these people, they never even answered, like Bill Burns, when those stories came out. He was literally our CIA director under Biden. And everyone was like, oh yeah, he was asking for career advice from Epstein in a lot of his emails. So it goes deep, man. It's an actual, this is a full-blown conspiracy. And I want to be clear, I'm not alleging that they all have compromat or any of that stuff on them. I really actually don't think that's the case. I think a lot of it was money, influence, and power. That's enough. You and I have lived here long enough, we know. And people will just look past it. But what I think, I would hope most moral people are above is you usually Google the people that you're associated with. This is a registered sex offender at the end of the day. And none of them cared, as long as, you can get access to money and to power.
And he used the fact that other wealthy, famous people continue to associate with him to be like, well, I mean, Bill Gates still hangs out with me. So it can't be that bad. These Larry Summers or whoever, they still think that I'm cool. So it can't be that bad. One more that I just saw here this morning, because by the way, and this is important to remember, as Sagar was saying, 22,000 emails and messages got dropped yesterday, and none of them are in a searchable format. So they're
in a Google Drive in image folders, which are unsearchable, just so everybody knows. So
what we just went through is a sampling of what has come out so far. There is going to be more, okay? And so here's another one that I just am seeing for the first time, where it's Michael Wolff again, going back and forth with Epstein, talking about Trump. This is in early 2018. And so Epstein replies to him, "The rich and powerful always send lawyers letters. A book about any one of them takes more time to publish, as I must be, and I am meticulous about documentation and backup." Now, again, maybe that's not true. There are some, indications from the FBI search of his townhouse and, victims saying that there were video recording, that there was cameras everywhere, et cetera. There is some indication that that is actually the case. But that was the perception he wanted people to have, was that he was meticulous about documentation, that he was recording everything, that he was keeping track of everything. And so the reality of what he actually had or didn't have doesn't really matter. What matters is what powerful individuals like Trump think that he may have, and assume that he must have, and assume that he must be sharing with various entities that he's also associated with. So, I think that one is significant as well, in terms of the way that he's portraying himself as this sort of all-knowing, all-powerful, with all the receipts to back it up kind of a guy. And so there's, the power, the proximity to power, the genuine influence. I mean, the amount of, now we've seen, it honestly goes beyond what I expected. The amount of globetrotting power that he had to shape world events is mind-boggling to contemplate. So you have wealth, you have power, you have proximity to all of these elites, and then you throw in that you have dirt on any number of people that can make your life very difficult. Then you see how this conspiracy of silence develops and is sustained over so many years. And the last point I wanted to make here, like I said before, there's going to be stuff that continues to come out. Whatever's new, we'll also put in the show tomorrow, the Friday show tomorrow as well. But Jill Filipovich made a good point about these emails with this New York Times reporter. These were from his work account. So New York Times fired him because he had an inappropriate relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. So they knew that he was having this personal relationship. And these emails about Epstein and, Trump have been sitting on New York Times servers, presumably, for all these years. And they just, I guess, never bothered to think of that, never bothered to search the emails, never bothered to see if there was anything relevant there that they might want to look into and report out. And that is wild, and gets to what you were saying, Sagar, about how is it possible that none of this has come out before? You literally had the email sitting on New York Times servers and they did nothing with it.
Yeah, weird. Interesting.
And look at Ryan right now reporting out all this stuff that any reporter could get access to and report out. But they are the only ones who are doing it. Tells you a lot.
I mean, this goes to the heart of the Epstein story from the day one. Remember Amy Robach, Good Morning America?
Oh, yeah.
Had the story, couldn't cover it. Actually, in some of those files, he is giving advice about how to help quash stories for the royal palace when the Duke, Andrew, is in his emails being like, please, I have nothing to do with this. Please quash this story for me. And Epstein is like, if we help this, then we're going to be at, parties in Buckingham Palace for the rest of our lives. He literally says that in the emails. It's dark, crazy stuff.
Wild.
All right. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.